Perfect, thank you.
Microphone on, please.
Everybody got their microphones on? Sheriff's, yours on, yours is on?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yours is on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, welcome everyone. We are here, workshop. It is 11 o'clock on Tuesday, June 24th. And I'll ask if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, back in discussions, we had requested some information, and we are here to discuss that. And Lynn asked if he could have a few moments to open the discussion, so go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to share my interpretation of a lot of the topics that we've been talking about for the last several weeks. And I kind of boil it down to some values associated with organizational planning, organizational development, and organizational effectiveness. And I'm going to share some of the thoughts. And I don't think there's going to be any problem with people saluting these values and benefits that I'm trying to articulate. And as a result of them, throughout the conversation today, maybe we can use them and incorporate these values and these benefits into our consideration relative to specific organizational design with the intent of actually voting on one design versus another before we leave today. So it's important in my mind's eye, based on the discussions that have been shared so far, that the Curry County Sheriff's Office is to be designed with both the objective of great efficiency and great effectiveness. And I also know, just because of the work that I've been able to do and what I've seen others do, that these two dimensions directly impact public safety. They affect the trust that the public has in the organization. They trust whether or not we're managing resources and objectives effectively and honorably. And they help set expectations that mission-critical assignments will be accomplished. So here's why the blending of that efficiency and effectiveness in organizational design is so critical for us today in our discussions. So the effectiveness of the organization is going to can help focus on enhancing public safety outcomes. There's the key word, public safety outcomes. A lot of times we get busy looking at moving money from one column to another or one level to another level and such. And what the conversation is really about how to create greater outcome for the people, for our constituents and our taxpayers. So the effectiveness then is going to ensure that we help achieve our goals and our mission, which are protecting life, property, and constitutional rights throughout Curry County. It involves doing the right thing. And that means solving crimes, responding promptly to emergencies, and maintaining public order. If we can't demonstrate that as outcomes on a transparent, regular, accountable basis, we are not doing the job. If an agency is not effective, what's the cost? Lives could be lost, crimes may go unresolved, and here's the real kick in the head. Public confidence in us withers. Another benefit, or can be a possible benefit, is through efficiency. Efficiency that focuses on responsible use of taxpayer dollars. Efficiency ensures that the organization is going to use its limited resources, and boy, do we know what limited means. We're going to use our limited resources wisely, including for staff, equipment, vehicles, and funding. This means different than effective. Efficiently means doing the right thing the right way. Two different concepts. This is the more difficult to balance from a leadership perspective, being efficient in doing the right things. Inefficiency can result in budget overruns, very slow response times, and, again, a kick in the head, lack of public support. Another possible benefit of balancing satisfactorily the concepts of efficiency and effectiveness have to do in the enhancement of public trust in our legitimacy. The public expects law enforcement in particular to be both capable and accountable. A department that's effective, but on the other hand inefficient, they may appear to be bloated or even mismanaged. On the other hand, a department that is efficient but ineffective may appear, and this is bad, hollow, uncaring, insensitive, harsh, and underperforming. Trust can be built when the public sees competency paired with integrity and fiscal responsibility resting in an environment full of transparency and accountability to the public. The fourth benefit of balancing effectiveness and efficiency has to do with the enhancement to workforce morale and the sustainability of our workforce. A well-designed sheriff's organization is going to allow for personnel to work in a supportive, adequately resourced environment, which reduces burnout and turnover. If we are efficient in our design, our systems are going to support clear goals and roles for each position. It's going to support consistent training as well as the incorporation of modern tools into the workforce, while effectiveness gives officers a sense of purpose and accomplishment. The fifth benefit of balancing efficiency and effectiveness has to do with the adaptability and the resilience of the organization. An organization that is balanced is better positioned to adapt to emerging trends. What are some of the trends we need to be aware of and be fortified against? It has to do with cybercrime within our public sector as well as within the private sector. We have to be able to deal with the enhanced drug and fentanyl distribution networks that are being set up in Curry County. We have the possibility for active shooter situations that emerge. In fact, we have had situations. We have human trafficking that unfolds. Equally, it prepares us better for crisis management, whether it's natural disasters and civil unrest. This agility, as a result, as a fruit of balancing efficiency and effectiveness, it provides for long-term organizational health, which I know that we all want for our sheriff's department or office. So in summary, let me just say that I don't know that there would be anybody arguing with this, that our Curry County Sheriff not only needs to run fast and hit its targets, it has to do both in a balanced way. By doing that, it earns public trust, it meets the community needs, and it endures the challenges. And if you were to roll the videotape forward for another hour or another hour and a half and wonder what way at least one of the commissioners is going to vote, I'm voting for the top drawer, very best, highest, most exquisite balance of efficiency and effectiveness in the organizational design that we agree on today. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thanks, Lynn. I suspect you've had an opportunity to look over the information that was provided to us yesterday?
Did.
Okay. Any initial comments, concerns, questions?
Yeah, I mean, my initial look at this is it's exactly the same thing. There's no change at all coming from the sheriff's office proposal. It's their side, and we still have our side, and there hasn't been any move to meet in the middle from everything that I've read here. It's par for the course, and I was kind of expecting there to be more of a meeting in the middle than not, and I don't see that with what we were given. That was my just initial observance here, and so I don't know, going to Lynn's point, how can we be more effective and more efficient with the taxpayer dollars when nothing's being proposed to change?
Lynn, do you have?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same persuasion. I hope to be perceived as consistent when I focus on outcomes. And I don't see anything here, either in the personal representation of the professionals in this room or on paper, that suggests that 2025 and 26 will have higher outcome than 24 and 25. I sense that if we roll the videotape forward to this time next year, we're still going to have our community in the unincorporated area fearful because we aren't getting the coverage that they desire in order to perceive that they are safe. That's the underlying problem that we've got with the design. It didn't produce what needed to be produced last year, and it doesn't predict, either from your representations or on paper, that it's going to produce what the community needs in the year to come. We must and can do better. We can be more efficient. We can be more effective with the taxpayers' money, delivering the services that are mission critical for this community.
I do have a couple of questions. In terms of the time data that was provided. So I don't know, Sheriff, if you want to answer these or Sergeant Westerman. But I'm just trying to get a better grasp of the numbers here. So when it says actual time classified as patrol deputy working out of class, would that be what essentially a patrol deputy would have made working out of class, filling Sergeant Ensley's shoes? Okay. And then the actual time that's what Sergeant Ensley or Lieutenant Ensley would have made had he received overtime.
No, the actual time is what he's currently getting paid.
No, the bottom number. Actual time working out of class on OT would have been the totality of what he would have earned over the last 6 months had he been receiving overtime. So that would be pay plus overtime. So essentially, yeah, thank you. And now, I guess, part of this I will own myself. I should have been a little more specific, I think, in what we were requesting. And yesterday I sent an email and asked for like CADs that supported the whatever, and I know that was like
I didn't have
a very,
time
yeah,
for that
I respect that 100%. I should have been more out the gate, kind of explicit in what we were looking for. But essentially, now that I kind of interpret the numbers correctly as they were designed, that now I have a better grasp. So before I was kind of confused. I didn't know exactly what the numbers meant. Because we asked for what would Lieutenant Ensley had made had he been an hourly employee over the last 3 months, and you did 6. You did 6. So essentially, he would have made about $2,500 additional in overtime.
That was without the tacking on for
Each call, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I didn't have the time to go back
And I think
call
the-
outs to find out how to call out.
Yeah, and I think the labor laws say as long as the call's not longer than 7.5 minutes, some of that nature, then it's considered. Oh, sorry, I'm getting scalded because they can't hear you in the microphone. So, my apologies. I will refrain from so many. So, yes. So thank you for that. All right. With that, I see the proposal, and the proposal essentially is what it was last year.
No, that's why I was confused. I thought the proposal. I thought the proposal moving forward was to accommodate both sides and keep animal control. We were taking the CRO, and his request was to keep his supervisor status. within. I don't know if that was misconstrued in here.
Well, so so it says the proposed budget from the sheriff's office for patrol 25-26 is 1 patrol lieutenant, 1 patrol sergeant, 3 patrol deputies, 1 forest sergeant, 2 marine deputies, 1 chief civil deputy, and 1 administrative assistant, which essentially is exactly what we have right now. So I guess,
That's what we brought to the table prior to the workshop. That was on our proposed budget. Sorry, I'm not using that.
oh,
So I
so
broke
that's
it
not what
down
you're
with-
proposing right
So
now.
it's
The
broke
updated-
down in different sections. I broke it down so we could see what we started with, what you guys brought to the table.
Right.
And then merging the proposed sheriff's office org chart, merging with the proposed BOC org chart. And
Where's that at?
so that was what I thought we were discussing today with if we were keeping the animal
Oh,
control here.
so that's not in here.
I did not break that down because
Okay.
I thought that's what this was for.
Okay.
Okay.
That brings some clarity as well to this discussion, so, because I thought when it said the proposed was basically,
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That was what we proposed in our 25-26 budget
got it.
prior to all of this discussion. So I was just breaking it down so it was clearly to where we could go through the tables.
Yeah, understood. So, knowing that, that clarification helps me. I'm, initially, when I saw that, I was a little, I was disappointed, because I was like, I thought we had agreed to meet in the middle, and it didn't seem like that was the case, so,
was like set in stone when we left, so I didn't know where
got it.
ground was.
Got it. Okay. So the question still lingers. The request right now, if I could just sum it up, is the sheriff would like to retain supervisory role in patrol. The CRO is workable as a sworn deputy. Animal control and civil would be a split duty job between the BOC's administration and the sheriff.
So we can start ramping that up.
Yeah, and I think that's essentially where we left off. Is that pretty close?
That's how I understood it.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're interpreting that our kind of a starting point in the same way. So, anybody have any feedback, ideas? Sheriff, you want to add anything?
We went back and we did a lot of work on what you're asking for. I went way past the middle when I said I will take on the CRO. The one thing I didn't want to do was the animal control. Mr. Hollinger stood up there the last time and said that all the sheriff's office are under, animal control is under all the sheriff's office. Well, you corrected him, and I did a listserv out there and found out over half are less than, or they don't have animal control.
Yeah,
The ones that do, there's a couple of them that are giving it back by July 1, so.
yeah. There's a number of counties that don't have a dog control district. Certainly, for sure. And I would imagine that part of the situation within budget crunches that are a lot facing, I think 85% of the counties are facing large budget reductions this year. They're all looking at some of those ancillary deals like you mentioned.
I was wondering why it wasn't looked at about bringing code enforcement back and putting animal control and CRO underneath animal control, code enforcement.
Isn't the CRO a sworn officer?
Yes, CRO is sworn officer,
It
but
wasn't in the job description that that is that way, but, you know, if we were to take it.
That was a mistake.
Sworn officer.
yeah, it has to be. Because that population that they're addressing there's a lot of crime that's occurring that needs to be addressed in those scenarios. So, I think I agree with you 100%. That's why I disagreed with the job description as it was printed, that was the first thing that needed to be changed. It was the first thing I blacked out was it has to be sworn. Otherwise, it just is a resource that's going to require an additional resource to come out with you to address low-level crimes, right? So that's not productive.
Well, and
So-
it's also the funding for it, you know, it comes from the opioid settlement funds,
Mm.
the CRO position.
Yeah,
And we want to make sure that it's legal to be able to use those funds for that position.
yeah, and we're confident that it is. We've checked.
I'm not confident at this point, so we're checking into it.
Yeah, that's fine. And we want to be, obviously, always want to be above board. You know, we can get a legislative review, and I'm sure that there's been,
Well, I mean, I believe Gold Beach Research did along with us, and they found places that are doing that, actually.
Yeah.
They'd be happy to give you that information.
other jurisdictions that are already
They're ready
implementing
to
it
do
in
it.
that fashion.
We were contacting the state to find out from them who provides the money, if that would be,
Yeah.
fit the criteria.
Yeah. So, you know, the question is still, the question is still, at this point, I think the big question is, under our proposed budget, there is no patrol supervisors outside of the sheriff. The sheriff would then is the patrol supervisor. Is there?
I kind of did a little breakdown on my own, and, I think that there should be a supervisor for patrol. I think, we retain Lieutenant Ensley as being the supervisor for patrol who oversees the CRO position of forest, marine, and road deputies. And then as we're able to continue to grow those or hire more deputies, then I think we come to the table and hopefully maybe within the year. And if we need to add a supervisor and could justify that, then I think that's when we do that.
Okay, so you are proposing to retain the lieutenant role
Right.
in patrol
Right.
with the caveat that as additional positions are hired, we are willing to reevaluate what it looks like in the future?
Yeah, and I think that should come with some reassurances as well. So come every month with the data that would
Right.
support
So,
being able to do this and that in the future.
I agree. I think the data is so incredibly important. Data on the protocols associated with assignment of deputies to activities and some kind of quantifiable representation of what's been accomplished, either on a weekly or monthly basis, so that we can demonstrate in black and white that things are better in these next 12 months than they have been from a performance perspective in the last 12 months. That's got to be handcuffed to whatever plan we come up with. There's a commitment to make that level of representation transparent to the public.
so, one second, okay, just 1 second. So, my issues with this were stated in our previous meeting. As stated by Lieutenant Crone, in our last meeting, the 3 patrol deputies have been in the jail for the entire year. Now, I think that was a bit of an overstatement. I don't think it was the entire year or the year in its entirety for all 3. But nonetheless, what he basically said was the supervisors in patrol had nobody to supervise for the entire year because they were working under his supervision in the jail. And that is a tough spot to be in to justify patrol supervisors. So there's a part of where I have some issues. I agree that there's a need. I was doing some quick math under what you proposed. Essentially, the patrol supervisor would oversee 7 deputies, is what I have. 4 road, 1 CRO, 1 forest, 1 marine.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then the sheriff would have, in his span of control, dispatch sergeant, jail lieutenant, patrol lieutenant, P&P lieutenant, and an administrative assistant. And possibly SAR, depending on how you chose to handle SAR.
I don't know how you expect me to handle all those responsibilities as a sheriff. There's a lot more that has to be done than what you guys see from a ground view. We look at it at the 30,000-foot level view. And there's a lot of things that I cannot supervise. And then, let's say, for instance, if there was somebody that needs an IA done, I can't do that IA and then impose a discipline at the same time.
Right. No, I understand. I just proposed if you had a supervisor in patrol, you would be, so, Sheriff, you said, let me clarify. You currently already oversee dispatch, civil crim, patrol, jail, P&P, correct?
Supervisors in those divisions.
Right, you supervise those supervisors, is that correct?
Correct.
So you're responsible for those divisions. Ultimately, you supervise the people who are, so essentially, what Patrick is, Commissioner Hollinger is saying is he's proposing to keep the lieutenant role in patrol so that you would oversee the lieutenant in patrol, the sergeant in dispatch, the lieutenant in the jail, and the lieutenant in P&P, and your administrative assistant.
And civil deputy.
And your civil deputy. Okay, so 6. So that seems, you're already going to oversee the division leaders over your different departments. That's the job.
You guys don't live in the lives that we live. That's what I'm saying. You have no clue what it takes to operate a sheriff's office.
But you can't be relieved of those positions. That's your job. You oversee
I oversee
all of those.
but
That's what you
why I
do,
put
right?
people in places to take care of those things that I can't deal with.
Right, but that doesn't negate the responsibility still lies with you.
But I don't understand what's changed. There's still Lieutenant Denny, Sergeant Westerman, Lieutenant Crone, Lieutenant Ensley.
It's exactly the same as it is this year.
No, you're
the
taking
same.
the supervision away from the patrol sergeant and the Marine search and rescue and force.
But not placing that under you.
That's
I
under
understand
Lieutenant.
You're taking that leadership away.
But we're not placing that responsibility to oversee that would be under the lieutenant.
We can agree to disagree.
Well, no, that's a fact. I don't
mean,
think,
I don't-
I don't think there's room to disagree here.
I-
They're saying that the lieutenant is gonna be overseeing the
Patrol.
patrol. That's what they're saying. There's
Yeah.
no
Right.
room for
We
disagreement.
need supervision on each side of the week.
So, and I think that's where Commissioner Hollinger is saying, look, right now as it is, as per your protocols, patrol's open 8 to 6, Monday through Friday. That's when patrol is open. And, should the everything expand and grow, and coverage expand and grow, and the need arises for that, then I would see the need to come back and have that discussion. Same, I would actually propose the same for the jail lieutenant. As the jail staffing gets up to full, and we are looking at, both sides of the shift, that be examined as well.
So there's room for organic
growth.
within each of the organizations, and we can come back here and
Right.
make the appropriate, just take the appropriate time and have the discussion about whether to bring in other supervisors, if we reach those points. And it seems to me that's an incentive to step up and hire and get people in the positions.
We have worked our butts off trying to get people hired into the jail to be able to bring the road deputies back onto the road. As of July 1, we'll have one deputy coming back to the road. We're still working on trying to rehire people in the jail. And it takes a while to get them through the hiring process, to the training, to the academy and certification process, and all that. It takes time, and sometimes it doesn't work out.
I do appreciate that. I understand that. I think one of the things that we're suggesting is that during this transition period where everybody's working hard to do a competent job of bringing the new people on board, that means we can vacate a supervisory role and reconsider that decision once the position becomes organically needed.
What's going to happen if you want to move the sergeant, the patrol sergeant, and the Marine sergeant out, what's going to happen is they're going to be paid out of classification for doing extra duties and work as far as all the reports and the distributions, and I can go on and on and on, but
I would like to understand that better.
that's what I'm thinking. You guys don't understand.
I need to understand.
Well, you have to walk a mile in our shoes before you can understand. It gets lost in translation a lot, and you think you can restructure, but we've done this for, the sheriff's offices have been around for years and years, decades now. So for somebody to come in and think that they can restructure and run the department better without certifications or knowledge just flabbergasts me.
Nobody's trying to run it, trying to understand it. And the fact that it's been around for a very long time has little bearing on its effectiveness and its efficiency. In fact, our voters, our constituents would say they were afraid last year. They were afraid. Though it was a hard year, and leadership got people through the knothole. Organizations arrived here today relatively strong. We're having a vigorous debate on how to get better, and that's good too.
So
Sheriff Crone, Lieutenant Crone, sorry.
not Sheriff Crone, Lieutenant. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear in what you had just asked for. So the jail operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We house, in totality, once everything is done, 35 adults in custody. What is being asked is to reduce the level of supervision of that based on the staffing. Is that correct?
No.
Well, you had said we could revisit a second sergeant once we are fully staffed.
Oh, I said I would definitely want to have that conversation. Yeah.
So what that would end up effectively doing is leaving 2 or 3 days with zero supervision of the jail, of those staff. As we're hiring on new people, they need to have that level of supervision, that level of guidance to be able to ensure that they're doing the things they're supposed to be doing, because we can't just stop.
And currently, in your jail, your structure is you and Sergeant Brosey
Correct.
and
Sergeant.
Sergeant Ensley.
Yep.
And Sergeant Ensley started when?
As a sergeant,
As a sergeant.
this was last year.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So we had 2 sergeants with Lieutenant Hensley,
Mm-hmm.
and then that transitioned out when I became the jail commander. We lost that sergeant position because I was the sergeant, and then we promoted Sergeant Ensley to fill my void. Currently, going into July 1, they will be working night shifts, opposite ends of the week. So we'll have that 12 hours of supervision every single day. Monday through Friday, I'm there to cover the day.
Yeah. No, and I understand that. I understand that. So, you know, under this new plan, we are essentially going from 7 staff in patrol civil crim.
That's gonna be my question. Are we counting the extra half civil on that? I didn't hear that mentioned. I heard, civil admin, whatever.
Right. It's in here it is. You have it. You don't have it as a half, you have it as a 1, but.
For the extra?
Yeah, so we would be basically going from 7 individual resources to 11.5, which is marked as 12. Now, so I guess here's where I'm at with this is I would agree with you with your assessment, Commissioner Hollinger. Retaining the lieutenant position seems to be a valuable proposition for all involved. I guess what I would hope.
I do have one quick clarification before you. I just want to make sure that I'm not confused, because you funded a CRO position.
Correct.
Are you providing the CRO of it?
We don't have any resources, no staffing at this point.
No, but are you committed to filling that at ASAP?
Yes.
Okay.
Because your legal analysis about whether or not it's okay is outside of your purview. If they fund it, they pay for it. That's how that works. You and Lieutenant Crone don't need to get into the legal analysis of whether opioid funding is used or not. If it turns out that it's not workable, that's not your problem. It's their problem.
And we would have to sort that out.
Well, it's a patrol function,
Yeah.
so you'd be able to fund it.
Right, but we would just have to pull it from a different source.
Right.
If it didn't work out.
We have to hire in the jail to pull my 3 positions out.
Oh, we all understand
And I can't hire in patrol until I get.
until you get the jail. We understand, 100%. We understand. Like, we appreciate that. Like, we get that. You gotta hire, you gotta get the jail squared away and then pull the folks out, and as we go, we can, so as you're well know, we've been debating this, we haven't been debating this portion, but like, you're responsible for the hiring, firing, promotion, and overall operations of your sheriff's office. Our job is to fund it as we see adequate. That's the roles. And, we are working the best we can to fund it as we see adequate. And then, your role is to then take that and provide the service. Now, what I would ask is, what I would expect is that the BOC, with this plan, receives monthly updates during the public safety portion of our meeting for information that we're requesting for the public to have, so that we can understand and better know and justify to the public exactly what it is we're funding. This is an accountability measure for us as well, so that we are accountable for what's being provided with the funding that we are given, and it's open transparency to the public on what is being provided. I would request that you have updated protocols, and essentially those protocols, I could see the protocols being basically like, hey, this is the protocol if we have all our deputies in the jail. This is our protocol if we are half-staffed, and this is our protocols if we are fully staffed. So that at least we have some understanding and anticipation on what the future may look like once positions start to get filled.
That would be more on the patrol side than it would be the jail side.
Correct. Yes, 100%. Yeah, jail's got its own set of, process and regulations. But patrol, the protocols for patrol.
So when we hire more people, we would change our protocols.
Yeah, and so I guess my point is I would request that maybe we get a advanced look at, I don't have them in front of me, but like, here's the protocols when we have everybody in the jail. This is what we can do. This is if we get half the people out of the jail and we're up to going. We got 5 resources on the road. This is our protocol for that. And when we get the jail staffed and we have 8 people out on the road, including the supervisor, this is our protocols for that. So at least the public and we and us know that in our best case scenario, this is what it's going to look like. We understand in kind of the rough scenario what it looks like as it is currently with the patrol deputies in the jail. But I guess I'm just trying to give a brighter outlook as we start to progress and move forward. Does that make sense?
I didn't understand the shrug, Sheriff.
Huh?
What did you mean by shrugging?
I shrugged with her.
She didn't shrug, she was raising her hand. You were responding to
He asked me a
Jay.
question.
I don't know what your answer was.
I didn't give an answer.
Would you answer his question?
I don't have an answer.
Okay, so what's the question? Are you willing to do what he's asking for relative to providing the monthly feedback in terms of the activity of the road patrol coupled with some kind of protocol statement that can be released publicly?
Are you asking this from every agency and every division in the county? Assessors, the clerks, DAs, do you ask any of that to them?
You know what? I will if I think that I've got a problem. Right now, I've got a problem because I have people in the community saying, I'm afraid every night. I don't have that in any single department other than the sheriff's organization. That suggests you have a very grave mission.
I don't agree with that because I believe that there's another agency.
You don't believe what? That you think I'm misrepresenting what people are telling me, or I'm falsifying?
What I'm hearing
Mm-hmm.
is not us, it's the BOC and the district attorney's office.
Well, that's why we're in an open meeting. People will have an opportunity to weigh in to the extent they want to affirm their perspectives. That's why we do this in an open conversation. So you ask me if I'm doing it to any others? No, because I don't have anybody else whose constituents are saying, I am afraid.
Well, and I do want to provide some clarification. So we are requesting similar information from all of the department heads based on KPIs, key performance indicators. We've asked all department heads to come up with 3 to 5 key performance indicators that essentially drive their operations, and to report on those key performance indicators on a monthly basis, so that we can start formulating a countywide newsletter that will highlight services that are being provided. And so we will be asking that of the electeds as well. As you know, some of the electeds may choose not to assist in that manner, to provide the transparency to the public, and to which we will then have to figure out a response. We're here right now in this situation because, frankly, last year you said, give me the money and I'll figure out how to spend it. And that turned into what we currently have, and also turned into, what was never explored was the possibility of what could have been. And I think at this point, we are exploring the plan that could have been. And that's well within our purview to do, and we are going to explore that. Now, we would really enjoy doing it in tandem with the sheriff and the sheriff's office, but that's clearly up to you, Sheriff. So
getting back to you say we never gave any stats or anything. This whole last year, we posted stats on the webpage of everything that we've done. And then we still get questioned about, you never provided any stats. Well, we have.
Well, you're, okay. Those aren't the statistics that we had requested, which is a completely different thing, right? And also, it's not generally truly a full picture of the statistics is either. One of the things that we asked for was simply, is the criminal referral process, the self-report referral process working? How many are coming in, which is being reported, and how many are being followed up with, which isn't? Right? So it's very much pick and choose on what, because we want to know, what are the resources that we have available reporting, which ones are being followed up with? How many calls are coming in after hours? And how many of those calls are being followed up with? So we have a better grasp of what is actually occurring. How many call-outs occurred, right? How many call-outs occurred? And what were the outcomes of those call-outs? How many call-outs were requested but didn't occur? Those are things that are important to everybody in the room, including the people watching. So yes, you put some statistics up on the, in terms of not all the calls, but some of the calls, and what was the that information was put up, but not the information none of the information we requested. So, I guess that's kind of still where I struggle.
So we'll reach out to our vendor for the JMS, or for our RMS, and we'll figure out what that cost is to be able to run that report.
That's not something, I have to hand pick
Yeah.
every call and go, I have to pull every call up and look at that or print it out and review it.
Yeah, what you're asking for takes a person all day.
So
That seems hard to believe in the 21st
we have a very
century.
old CAD system. I can come over and show you how I can run a general report, the SRF self-report form. Most of those, if they're closed out in a stat showing SRF calls, those are not getting responded to. That's what that means. That's how we made that unit is what we'll call it, to be able to track how many calls are coming in that are not getting response. So when you see that SRF calls for service, 0 response typically, unless there's something further that makes the call out criteria change. Or it can come in an 8 to 6 p.m. report, whether it come online, by phone. We're being instructed to close it out with self-report form or SRF unit because it doesn't meet the response criteria. So when you see that stat, that is part of what you're asking for, but maybe not to where you broke it down.
There's a lot more than I knew 10 minutes ago, so thank you.
Also, I think I wrote down what you're requesting, and yes, we will have to do a report for it. The vendor will have to where I can put 5 minutes of my time, because I'm also very busy too. I work a dispatch console. This is something that I'm going to have to go CAD through CAD every single day from after 6 p.m., 7 p.m. when our unit leaves for the day. And I have to go through every call to see, did a call out happen in the call log? And did somebody come out for service? If that's the information you guys truly do want.
It is.
So I can,
And I would say if we can put in a system that tracks it going forward, that's the best data we get. Like if it's real time and, we have, here's best case scenario, in my opinion. Number one, the county starts providing actual information, data relative to service being delivered countywide. If that's in the form of a newsletter, fantastic. Because I'm of the strong opinion, it is going to be very difficult for us to get solidified funding moving forward without the public truly understanding what it is that is being provided. And this is the best way I know how to get down that avenue. The biggest expense for the county and the biggest responsibility for the county is the functions you serve.
Correct.
And having critical data that we can report on how that's being delivered to the public, even when it's bad news, it's still important. Even if the news is, hey, we couldn't get out to anybody because we had deputies filling roles in the jail and because we had this or that and the other. That is still extremely valuable information for the public to know and for us to know so that that's the self-accountability on our end for that. So my opinion, best case scenario is we get a monthly public safety update at a BOC meeting that then, one of our staff can transcribe into the newsletter for those that don't watch it. And it's critical stats and information countywide on services being rendered.
Just one quick thing is, what I have said to Lieutenant Crone as well before, if the information stays within your organization in a silo, it's your problem and it stays your problem. It shouldn't be your problem. The jail should be everybody's problem. We should be figuring out together how to get the information out. And it's like, I think the important thing, even if it's bad news, get the news out. If we're using an antiquated system and we're not able to communicate what's going on, that becomes a top priority to fund one way or another so that we can resolve that issue and get the information out to the voters. So I'm more than happy to do for the dispatch, for the CAD system, what we're doing for the jail. It sounds as important, at least. Sure. Make it a top priority, but we need to get the information, and we also all need to be committed to sharing the information that we have. And if we're not, then we're just all lying to each other.
And
So that's a 180 from last year. I'm just going to say it. Because last year when the ransomware attack happened, we asked for it. We asked for, this is the opportunity. We should get a new CAD. We have this chunk of money that's sitting there to rebuild our systems. We were told, no, we're going to rebuild with what we had. So this is 180. That's great.
Well, I think, I mean, at that point, we were talking about, I mean, we were talking about switches, and we were talking about basic infrastructure, but I agree, we had that discussion.
Opportunity.
And, well, we still have the opportunity, so we can
So
deal with it.
no one here is arguing. If that's a priority of the county, let's,
Well, the priority of the county is getting the information that the commissioners ask to the commissioners.
Yeah.
That has been the priority and remains it.
And to the public. We can't, if
Yeah.
it sets, like, as Ted was saying, if it stays in your silo, it just breeds toxicity everywhere. And you've got a great story to tell, let's get it out. And Ted, I cut you off, I apologize.
No, I'm finished.
So I want, Jay, you were commenting on some of the underlying drivers that are making this such a difficult conversation and a difficult planning process. I think there's a lot of factors that are well beyond our control that are dictating eventually our outcome. And I think it has to do with the upward trajectory of all of our costs in the county, and in particular to a labor-intensive organization like the sheriff's organization. We've been trying to track department by department, just the materials and the supplies and the accelerated costs that have gone on the last 4 or 5 years. And they're like, I don't know, I can't off the top of my head think of anybody that was under like 27% increase in basic costs. And some departments are well over 70% increase in their basic costs. And what kind of tax increase revenue did we get in the last 3 or 4 years? Nothing that matches the increase in costs that our departments and our elected official organizations are carrying. And that's huge pressure on us to be efficient and effective both. Thank you.
Which is, why, 80-some% of the counties are all facing
Yeah.
large deficits, right? So,
Compared to who?
well,
We're
just as
sustainable.
compared to previous year.
Right.
Right,
But we're on a sustainable path.
correct.
Thank you.
So question still lingers. It sounds like the proposal is to fund a lieutenant position in patrol. I brought some math, salary, schedule stuff, whatever. Essentially, what we would need to come up with to do this is $18,576. So, Director Fitzgerald, is this, can we find that?
Yeah, I think so.
If not, if we can't find it, I'll donate my salary to that tune if we can't find it.
Nobody's asking you to donate your salary. You've done enough with that.
Well, the thing is I have no problems doing that. If it's going to equate to better public safety for our citizens. Like, that's it's the whole purpose. And so if that's what it comes down to, and I do trust that he'll probably find it some way, some fashion, but if not, to just make sure that we are all on the same page, it will get funded one way or the other, whether we can find it or whether we can't.
I'll split that with you if we can't find it.
Same here.
Well, I wasn't expecting you to do that, but
This keeps up, I'm gonna be asking you people to contribute every month.
I'm going to be asking you for a loan.
so just because we're in the middle of a jail inspection, sergeant in the jail.
yes, I want to discuss that too.
Yes.
So that's the second part of this conversation. So I 100%, having run secure residential or secure facilities in my past, I understand the need for supervision on both sides. And so I would also be a proponent to retain the second sergeant role as opposed to basically taking the deputy role to a sergeant role. Now that's going to come at a fairly less cost. It's about a 5% change
It's no different than today.
Yes. But again, that wasn't entirely budgeted, so is that something this group is willing to look at? And I guess the point why I'm advocating is because what Lieutenant Crone has stated is very much an important process. In a 24-hour operation like that,
With the turnover that we have.
yeah, the need.
Today we have 4 certified corrections deputies, not including me. We have 5, including the deputy who's deployed, who will return in October. So I have 50%, 55% uncertified.
And the question is what?
Is
Keep it at two sergeants.
keeping it at 2 sergeants in the jail for 24-hour operations. Essentially, changing one deputy role to a sergeant role. No additional, it's not an additional position, it is an increase in role.
Conceptually, I think it's, like you say, it's going to be a very important step to take. I just have to count on whether or not we've got the money to do it, that's all.
Well, for the sake of, compromising and meeting in the middle, I mean, I would like to see what we can do to staff that second sergeant position as well. So I think if we can do that and then retain a supervisory role for patrol, I think that shows some pretty good faith on our end to try to come up with some money, move some money to be able to support that.
Thank you.
But then I would also hope that you continue your hard efforts for trying to staff.
Yeah.
And
that'd be a conversation I'll have with human resources, because there are some recruiting.
And again, provide the information, that is requested so that we can get those stats, those information, whatever it is, to the public regarding probably the single greatest mandated role we currently are charged with.
Is there a stat of the jail that is already not being provided that you're looking for?
I would need to evaluate, and actually, it would probably require a greater conversation with you. What I would probably say is the same thing that we said to everyone else. What are your top 3 to 5 key performance indicators? And let's start there. Right? That's kind of.
And then just for my clarity as well, the civil deputy / animal control, what was the final outcome on that?
We're gonna continue doing animal control while it gets, as far as I can see, I believe Joan is the senior civil deputy, correct?
Would that position fall under Joan's supervision, under that department, since she's
I think
chief
that
civil, or does that go under patrol?
Okay, so the process server would be directly under patrol.
And I wrote a note down too that said, currently we're at for patrol 7, but then you mentioned it'd be proposing 11.5, so that would be a part-time civil deputy position?
Because they have it as a 1, so I just changed it to a half.
To a half, okay, so we
make
would
sense?
still be,
So I think the thing there is,
Or do we
is they would be a civil,
that?
they would be a civil processor until a call comes in.
or does that,
Right.
right.
And then they would,
Okay, or was that 0.5 split between the 0.3 remaining for Marine, and then wasn't there, for the forest deputy, is that fully funded by forest contract, or is that 0.5, or we split that 0.5 between Marine and forest?
Well-
to cover that civil?
no, I think that we had, in the budget, I'll just go back to this. In the budget, I think the 0.5 of the civil was covered through general fund.
Okay.
And then the other portion was funded through animal control. And what we had already appropriated to animal control. The reality is you know, a 0.5 processor is most likely, is not going to be able to handle the load, but they're going to be able to reduce the load off of patrol, which they will still be, essentially, there's still going to be some responsibility of serving those things.
Okay.
You know, one thing that we could examine in the future, in terms of civils, to reduce that load is, and this may, this is, I don't know, but currently, Gold Beach and Port Orford pay us a small amount for dispatch. Correct?
Small amounts.
Yeah, it's a small amount. But something we could explore that could maybe possibly reduce some of the civil processing off of in the city limits is maybe we trade with the cities to provide civil service within the city limits for dispatch, and take that some of that onus off of some of the patrol within the city limits. Obviously, that wouldn't work for the city of Brookings because they have their own. But I don't know how. I don't even know how to. But just exploring options to try to get to allow for patrol to be more focused on patrol. Right. So, anyways, just
No mandate for patrol is a mandate for civil service.
for sure. But I don't believe that. I mean, I think the law says any 18-year-old adult can serve papers. So I you know, it who we decide serves those papers is fairly open-ended. So at any rate, I think we're at a I don't know, Lynn, you have more to add?
I do.
Go ahead.
So I still have two questions. One is on output. When we compare 2024 to 2025, 26, are we going to have greater coverage based on the measurements that you provide to our unincorporated areas year over year? Can you commit to that?
Certified deputies?
Are you going to have
My answer is my question.
Mhm.
Are you talking about certified deputies?
correct by our patrol organization? That's correct.
It all depends if we can get people hired
Okay. So
and trained, and it's gonna take a year per person, unless we find a certified person for some reason that wants to come to this area, and we end up hiring them. The process is a lot less shorter that way.
what's the incentive for
No incentives.
what's the incentive for you to step up and get it done sooner rather than later?
I don't know what you're expecting of me, because, you know, I bust my butt trying to get it done now.
What is your effectiveness?
Well, with the number of people that are knocking down our doors, the effectiveness is not very great.
Okay, so you're incented to do it, and you're eager to take it on. What's going to be an incentive that we can create for people to raise their hand and say, consider me? What do you need?
We have to have some things where people can advance into, like supervision from their normal roles. I got people in my office now that are certified in one division but would like to transfer to another division just to get to patrol eventually. But
So career pathing is important in your organization, right?
absolutely.
What are your barriers to career pathing in order to satisfy those eager employees, but also to fill the deputy slots?
Can I touch on that? Because that's actually for my division.
Okay.
I have need another one of these. I have a dispatcher who wants to go to patrol, but wants to start in corrections first. That leaves me with
I'm currently filled with 2 trainees. It takes 6 months to a year to train, but I can't hire because technically I'm full. So I have one who wants to advance to a different division, and I can't, I don't know if backfill's the right word, but I can't even start the hiring process to try to get an applicant in because I don't have open positions, technically an open position. So moving forward, I would like to discuss how that looks, because I know I have one currently right now that wants to move, which they need it too, but then I'm short-staffed again. So we're basically shuffling it to another area.
Okay.
Yeah, back in November, we, especially with the jail, we asked for the ability to overhire, knowing we had people going out to do other things. That's what we would ask. The ability to overhire in these positions, like with dispatch, with the jail, knowing we have this happening,
So at least for now, overhiring isn't an issue with you.
not for the jail.
Right.
But it is, well, it really is for him, because if we could be doing that right now.
Yeah, if we could with
we'd
dispatch.
be much closer for,
Right.
it could be department-wide.
And,
So
then, and then the other barrier,
Let me just clarify. Ted, I understand he's under head count. He's not, he doesn't need to get another head count and he doesn't have to overhire. He can just work with the sergeant and bring somebody in at the right time when her organization has matured, and organically they can come on over.
Right, but the problem is that since her organization is full, she technically can't
Hire.
advertise to hire. So we need to modify that basic
Correct.
personnel rule, which is easily done.
Okay.
So we can do that. But it needs to be,
Right.
basically, it's gonna need board action for you guys to say
Absolutely.
that and I think we would want to not limit this to the sheriff's office either. We would want to say departments that are, it's possible, for example, the assessor's office could be in the same basic scenario, because they've got differentiating job descriptions, but one person in taxation might want to move over to appraisal or vice versa, that kind of thing. So we should modify that and allow departments that are I'll think of the wording, but basically that are in these sorts of extremist situations to overhire, as long as there's exigent circumstances that would support it. So I think we'd do that easy.
So the reason I'm raising that particular question is because it ties together with the first question, which was, are we going to have better coverage in 2025-26 than we did a year ago? And then it brings to my last point, as well as a question, and that is, can we possibly coordinate all that needs to be coordinated between the sheriff's office and the BOC, from budget management, budget revisions, efficiency and effectiveness reporting and distribution and proper communications to our constituents, and hiring? Can we coordinate that without meeting on a regular, disciplined way? I'll answer that. No, we cannot. You must be here. You must bring your information here and discuss with us everything that, Sheriff, if you need an incentive package of some kind, then let's work together to see what that might be, in order to attract people to raise their hand and say, consider me to be one of your deputies. Wherever that HR need is there, we're blinded by it. We can't have somebody in need in a silo and the community going down as a result of the two silos. So help us bring down the silo, show up, whether it's convenient or not, and let's deal with these issues. Will you commit to that, Sheriff?
I can't commit to anything right now until we figure out what we're doing with this budget.
Okay, then let's put that on the table. If this budget is approved,
Well, it's not our budget that's being approved, it's your budget that's approved for us. That's what I'm saying.
correct.
And it doesn't fit within my organizational charts because of, I need supervision. And you guys don't think that I do. So that's my problem.
So,
It's like the animal control. Can we do it? Not now, we can't. We don't have the resources to do it. And until we build a jail and bring patrol back out, there's not much we can do until we get that done.
So have we got a way to bridge animal control during the transition period?
We
Yeah,
did.
Ted
But we
already-
did.
We've already discussed
That's an
that.
issue off the table, I
Right.
thought.
Well, I committed to do that,
Right.
but if, just so we all understand each other, I'm the one that committed to do that. Is anybody else in this room willing to commit to a basic ask, which is just what was asked of you? Are you gonna commit to come to the meetings and discuss and work as a team member? That's what they're asking, not anything to do with the budget.
Question.
Not anything to do with the budget, that's exactly what he asked. He asked you specifically, are you gonna come to the meeting and work as a team member so that when we find out that Sergeant Westerman has an issue, she brings it not to you alone, you bring it to us and make it their problem, and then they solve it. That's what he's asking you. But then you said, you're not doing anything. That was your answer. So at this point,
That's not what I said. That's not.
that's exactly
Well,
what you
he's-
said.
Well, let's let him,
Okay.
so I'll ask it as respectfully as I can, which is easy for me to do because I respect you greatly. I need you here regularly in order to properly serve our voters. Will you pledge to be here working with us even during difficult meetings? Please.
There's times that, with the staffing that I have, that I'm out working, serving some important civils or making arrests or whatever, that I will not be able to make those meetings. But I'll do my best to try to do so.
Well, I do understand the contingencies of being in law enforcement and recognize that you don't always control your schedule. But be sure and let us know how you're doing. Without you here, the walls of the silo go up very fast.
Because the reality is this is the most productive conversation we've had in over 18 months. And these are the kind of conversations that help lead to more productive output on all our fronts. So what I'd ask, Sheriff, is that we have essentially a reassurance in terms of the protocols for this is what we can do currently. This is what we can do if we get to half the staff that we are proposing, and this is what we can do if we're fully staffed.
We can do that.
Perfect.
Can I clarify on what the other steps you wanted are?
Yeah, grab the microphone though, Sergeant Westerman.
So the monthly update sessions, you were wanting to see staffing levels as well, is that correct, in all the divisions? Calls for service, what's being reported, what's being followed up on, how many calls are coming in after hours, what are after hours? Is that
Yeah, and
kind of our,
the self-report forms.
okay.
Yeah.
So not necessarily how many calls are getting follow-up in general, it's the self-report forms?
Both.
Okay.
Right, because I know that we're receiving calls that we can't follow up with as well. And those are basically in line with the self-report form.
Correct. How many call-outs occurred? What were the outcomes? Meaning, like, was there an arrest? Was there not as reported? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, well, essentially, if there was a call-out, and how many call-outs did we respond to?
Okay. Yeah,
And how many call-outs did we decline?
how many call-outs were requested and how many call-outs met response?
Yes.
Okay. And then, just to make sure I'm understanding, moving forward with this, we're moving forward with retaining the lieutenant in the patrol division, 4 patrol deputies, a forest deputy, a marine deputy, civil, the .5 civil is here, animal control with the BOC, keeping 2 sergeants in the corrections, and then meeting back in 6 months.
And a CRO deputy.
Oh, thank you, I knew I was forgetting one. And then is the goal to meet back to discuss supervision again in 6 months, a year, 3 months?
I would say as we progress in hiring.
Organically, when we're going to have a working relationship, let's work it.
I believe you guys said that we could do it on a weekly basis if we had to. But, I mean, it's never gonna be that way, but you would meet and discuss it.
Meet as often as,
As required.
Absolutely. Whatever you think is appropriate.
There are issues regarding, incentives for hiring. Just to bring you up to speed, we've got the guys in the planning, in the building department are going forward with, they've got a design for a house, we've got a piece of ground, now we have to get the materials ready, and we'll build that, preferably that one will be in Gold Beach, the first one. We have other options for that, there are incentives that are out there that can make it, I'm not exactly sure how that's gonna work, but having living facilities for new deputies would be, so that they can get established in the area in a comfortable way. That would be,
Low-income housing or?
well, basically, I mean, but,
It will be essentially short-term relocation, retention housing.
so they can come in and get established and figure out where they're gonna go and have time to.
Find a
focus on
place to
their work.
live, et cetera, yeah.
That's the piece that's being discussed now. It doesn't mean that that's the only housing model that we have the capability to do, but let's work together to understand the need and figure out how we respond to that need, please.
Okay,
I'm glad that we brought up the housing because that's one barrier to recruiting. The pay is another barrier. I'm just going to be honest with you. You can work anywhere else in the state, make more money. So that's another barrier that,
They've said that about the county commissioner job, too.
But it's legitimate, I mean,
Yes,
that's
it's
I mean, if you want people to come to work for you, you gotta pay them.
Yeah.
So, we have to look at that, and we have to be, I mean, it's, one thing that I've noticed is, sometimes we sort of limit ourselves in this county because we say we're a rural county and we don't pay people. Well, we don't get people because we don't pay people. So it's.
trying to figure out ways to be more competitive.
Right.
and then the other thing that we can fix very quickly is, you talked about efficiency, Mr. Coker. The sheriff's office, I'm just going to put it out there. I was the person who posted that on the HR website, the careers page, the recruiting page that we created, knowing we had a recruiting issue. Miscommunication, I asked for permission. I guess I asked from the wrong person. So I would like to have the access to the website back so we can continue being efficient and effective in our recruiting message. Because right now, it's not efficient to ask 2 or 3 other people to post something.
you should only have to ask one, and they should be able to get it up within the half an hour that you ask. So if that's not occurring, then that needs to be reported to Director Fitzgerald and followed up with.
I don't have a problem with Crown having access. My problem is that when departments are acting unilaterally and not answering to anybody and with no limits, and your situation was a revelation for a much larger problem. So,
And it wasn't the intent.
and also here we are in the 21st century. What kind of website do we have that we can't limit permissions? So site wide, it's just bizarre. But anyway, we'll work that out.
Thank you.
That's a great example of how, through communications, tearing down the walls of the silo, boom, just like that, we can solve problems. Let's just line up the problems and let's get them taken care of.
And then we'll work with HR to make our recruiting and hiring process a little more seamless. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Okay. Well, I think we have a consensus in moving forward for the budget adoption on the 30th. We're going to add in the lieutenant role and sergeant in the jail role. Ted, obviously we discussed if Director Fitzgerald, we discussed if we're having difficulty finding the money for those, that we will fund it through the BOC.
Come to your house and repossess your Kubota.
Yes. Yes. So, all right. With that, Are we good?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
We
Thank
will,
you very much.
we will adjourn this workshop.
Thank you.